It was a winter night, cold and silent, as Jake drove along a narrow road winding through dense forests. Snow covered the trees with its white blanket, and the darkness of the night gave this place a special mystical atmosphere. The road was almost empty, and only the sound of his car's engine penetrated the silence. Suddenly, the sound of a sharp tire blowout interrupted the monotonous hum of the engine. Jake quickly braked and stopped the car on the side of the road. A flat tire at such a time and in such a place was unfortunate, but Jake decided not to panic. He got out of the car to see what had happened. With a glance, he inspected the damaged tire and immediately understood that he would have to replace it. But when he lifted the spare tire from the trunk, something made him shudder. In the darkness among the trees, he discerned something unusual, dark and mysterious. The image, almost imperceptible in the darkness, looked like a shadow hiding behind a tree. Jake squinted, trying to make out this phenomenon, but it disappeared as quickly as it appeared. He decided that his imagination was playing a cruel joke on him and returned to his car to start changing the tire. However, when he picked up the tools to start work, he felt that someone or something was watching him. He looked towards the forest again and once more saw the ominous image, now closer. It was eyes, burning in the darkness like glowing coals. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine as adrenaline flooded his veins when he realized that this image had begun to pursue him. His heart raced so fast it felt like it would jump out of his chest. He hurried to tighten the nuts faster, trying to finish the job as quickly as possible. But when he finished, the image was already too close. Jake frantically jumped into his car and started the engine. His heart pounded as he drove away, trying to escape from this nightmare on wheels. He raced along the narrow road, taking each turn at a reckless speed. But the shadow did not relent. It followed him like a ghost, haunting its victim. And then, at one of the turns, a young girl appeared before him. She stood in the middle of the road, pale and silent, with dark eyes that gleamed in the darkness. Jake realized that she was the same shadow that had pursued him through the forest. He tried to brake, but it was too late. The car skidded on the slippery snow and crashed into a tree with a loud crash. Everything fell silent. Silence enveloped the scene, and the shadow disappeared as if it had never existed. Morning broke with dead silence as rescuers discovered the wrecked car and Jake, lifeless and motionless. His face was contorted with horror, and his eyes were filled with fear. No one could explain what happened that night in the forest, but legends of mysterious ghosts haunting travelers continued to live on in those places. In the shady expanses of rural countryside stood a house, seemingly hidden within the depths of the forest, enticing with its silent enigma. A young couple, Emily and John, deemed it the perfect place to start their new life together as newlyweds. However, soon after their first night in the new home, they began to realize that this house held much more than meets the eye. Initially, it was minor incidents, the rustling of leaves outside the window, the creaking of old doors in the night. But as the days turned into nights, the events that unfolded became increasingly strange and frightening. Dishes moved without apparent cause, paintings on the walls seemed to change places on their own, and the chandelier in the living room began to sway as if under the influence of invisible hands. With horror, their sensations took shape when they heard strange footsteps in the corridor and nocturnal murmurs from the basement. Their house seemed to come alive with its own eerie breath, and they began to doubt who or what they were truly surrounded by. Yet they couldn't part with the house that had become part of their dream, albeit one turned into a nightmare. Gradually learning about the history of their home, they discovered that its previous owner, Margaret Hollister, was a renowned local witch. A resident told them she had been ostracized from society for her dark practices and curses placed on the local residents. The tale of witchcraft and magic they read about in old records and rumors became clear when they found dusty and tattered pages of a magical book in the basement. All their fears and assumptions were confirmed when they came across records of ancient rituals and dark incantations performed by Margaret. With no other choice, they turned to the local priest for help. The cleansing and consecration ritual of the house was long and arduous, but it seemed to yield results. As the final words of the prayer echoed in the dense atmosphere of the house, they felt the darkness giving way to light and the ominous sounds fading into silence. In the end, Emily and John realized that their struggle against the darkness was only the beginning, and that even in the most ordinary places, mystical and dangerous secrets can be hidden. But they remained in their home, knowing that together they could withstand any trials that lay ahead on their path.